I'm Gary.
And this is Austin.
And we are Midwest Mics coming back at you live from the UClick TV studios right here inside the Hy-Vee Arena. It's another great week, another great day that we are going to bring you some content here on the U. So, Austin, how was your week?
Week was good. The weeks are all kind of the same, like kind of leading up to sports getting back going again. Kind of cool. MLS started back up, so I'll watch some of those games. So yeah, it's been good. Good week. Heard you had a workout this morning. How'd that go, Gary?
Yeah, it was good. Shawnee Mission East, we are back with our workouts. We started up again yesterday. We are outdoors still. We are social distancing. We are wearing masks as coaches at all times. The kids wear them when they arrive and when they leave and when they transition from one part of the field to the other. But other than that, they're 6 feet apart. Actually, a little more than 6 feet. But, excuse me.
Bless you.
It's not the Rona. Allergies.
Oh, boy.
But, yeah, so another outdoor practice this morning. And can't do any football-type activities or anything like that. But, we're able to do some agilities and some strength training and things like that outdoors.
That's
so
cool. I can't remember. Is there any there's no timeline yet when you guys are starting up, like, real stuff? Or is there some sort of timeline on that?
No. As far as I have heard from Keisha and everybody I've talked to, Keisha is the Kansas High School Activities Association. They have not altered the timeline on when practice can start from, what they originally laid out last year. So
okay.
The only thing they did do was take off the dead periods in the summer.
Okay.
So, we can have camps and stuff like that here. Our head coach is getting all that together with, listening to the athletic director and principals and, just what we can do within the rules. So we're, doing everything we can to stop the spread of COVID, but also prepare for a football season.
Yeah, it could be kind of tough. We've talked to, obviously I've talked to you, and then we've had other coaches come in, and everybody's trying to do the safe, the safest route to get to the end destination, which is fall sports.
Yes.
But I think everybody's doing a good job. One thing, too, I've noticed is I think the uptick of COVID in the U.S. has kind of slowed down a little bit. So we may be hitting a point where it's going to start dropping. Everybody's doing a really good job doing social distancing and masks, masks if your county says you need to or not or whatever. Counties are all different with what's going on. I know where I live in Cass County, it's whatever. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And then out here is a lot different. So,
okay. We are going to bring in at this time our guest this week, Jeff Montgomery. He is a Kansas City Royals Hall of Famer. He's a current Fox Sports analyst. He was with the Cincinnati Reds for one season and then Kansas City Royals from 88 to 99. Had a bunch of career highlights, three-time All-Star. He won the Rolaids Relief Man Award for the AL in 93. He was the saves leader in 93. And then, as I mentioned, Kansas City Royals Hall of Famer. Over 700 strikeouts and over 300 saves in his career as a pitcher with the Reds and then mostly with the Royals. So we know him as the Kansas City Royals. So welcome, Jeff Montgomery, to the show today.
Hey, thanks for having me. Glad to be on. I'm glad to finally be getting ready to talk about a little bit of baseball that's right around the corner.
Yeah, we are down to single digits on days before we get to actually see the Royals in action. So I'm excited. I know you are too. And how have things been going out at the K? Have you been able to be at some of the practices and things, watching the guys?
Yeah, keeping up with it. It's unusual. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the spring training we had in 1995 when obviously during the strike of 94, 95, things were settled, and then it was abrupt. Everybody hurry up to get the spring training camp, and it was a short camp. It was about 3 weeks about what this camp's going to be, but you have to do some maybe a few things that a little out of the ordinary as far as preparing, getting ready. I think to me the biggest challenge was find a way to get the pitchers stretched out the way they can go, more than just 3 or 4 innings. And I think having that head start with the spring training camp they had in Arizona before the delay hit will be an advantage. Talk to a couple of pitchers. They feel like they're probably ready to go 5 innings right now. So I think that's a good thing. It may change the approach with regards to how you manage those pitchers. Teams have used openers now. Teams have done a little bit different approach. You may see more of that now with the way this thing has really had to almost be jump started. But to me, it's not a bad thing. It may create some opportunity for some young pitchers. The Royals are really stockpiled with a lot of really good young, inexperienced arms, players that have performed extremely well at high levels in the minor leagues, looking for that chance to pitch in the major leagues. And certainly this season, as unique as it's going to be, may provide some of those opportunities.
It's very interesting to hear about that and how the season's going to break down with the shortened amount of games. We've talked a little bit about. We had Daniel Hughes on last week. He played a little bit of major ball, and that was kind of a good question. And so I'll pitch it to you also. What really changes can the fans expect going from a 162-game season down to a 60-game season? What are the biggest changes as far as just how the season's going to flow?
Well, as a player, whether you be a manager, a player, coach, whatever, you come to the ballpark every day preparing to perform at a high level. Now, teams that are solid with regards to talent, teams that stay healthy, over the course of a 6-month season, generally can offset maybe a few valleys. This is a game of streaks and slumps. And when you have a slump in a short season, it's going to be much more difficult to recover. And I think that's the real challenge for teams is going to be how do you handle slumps. So getting ready is one thing, but one thing started, you have to get off to a fast start if you're going to perform and expect to be a contending organization. Everyone's going to be sprinting this year. There's no just lay back and we know that we think it's going to take over. Last year, for example, the Washington Nationals, I think there's 7 games under 500 in June. They eventually win a World Series. If you're 7 games under, you'll say at the 1st of September, you're not going to have a chance to win the whole season. You have to find a way to keep things going. So I think that'll be the biggest challenge is finding ways to stay consistent and avoid a slump.
Yeah, specifically as a pitcher, how does that is that going to change? I know pitchers are very routine driven on when you throw and how often you throw. So is the 60-game season really going to change those routines a lot for the pitching staff?
Probably not. It may early. Think about our normal baseball season. When things start, you got a bunch of off days early in the season, whether scheduled off days or you may have some weather issues. Those are likely not going to be because we're starting baseball in July as opposed to this year was going to be late March. So you have to have arms, and given the fact that it's going to be a short season with a short camp, it may change the approach with regards to how managers have to handle the bullpens. And I think looking at almost every team in baseball, everyone's really taking measures and steps to beef up bullpens, quality arms, power arms. And we just, unfortunately, last few years here in Kansas City, we've not seen the type of performance out of our bullpen on a consistent basis that's given us a chance to be competitive. I mean, I can think of numerous games the last few years that the Royals were winning after 6 innings to 7 innings. But unfortunately, they end up giving up those leads and losing some baseball games. You just can't afford to lose. And that's why the bullpen will be so vitally important to not just the Royals, but any bullpen.
Yeah, and that's you mentioned the last couple of years, that's kind of the reverse we saw, in the 14 and 15 years where, we knew if we could get to the 6th inning with a lead, we had those guys coming in that were going to take care of business. Yeah,
and I think with regards to Mike McKinney, how he handled the bullpen, we've got some new arms that choose from out there. I think one guy that really stands out there is Trevor Rosenthal, former All-Star, a guy that has a chance to really be a contributing factor to this kind of revamped bullpen, but they certainly have to find ways to hold those leads. I mean, when you lose a game in the seventh or eighth inning or ninth inning, that you should win, it's pretty devastating, and it has somewhat of a hangover effect in the ball club for some period of time. And I think that'll be a real key, is finding ways to maybe win some games other teams think that they have in the bag, and not lose some of the games that you have in the bag. And I think that will lead to a lot of confidence. And I think we need to, especially in a short season, have a chance to get on a little bit of a roll. And I think the importance of getting on a roll early in the season is really going to it'll be a huge factor on which teams are going to be in that mix come, say, into September when it's crunch time.
Yeah, it makes sense. And another question we had, too, is I've been thinking about is the trade deadline. I think it's a month. It's like the start of the season, and I think trade line's a month out or something like that. Is that right? I think I heard that right.
31st, yeah.
Is it? Okay. And so what do you think? Because people have asked me about, like, hey, what do you think? Is it going to be, like, crazy? Is it going to be a ton of trades going on? There'll be a few trades going on? It kind of sounds like, with the way how we're talking about pitching stuff, it may be a kind of a run on relief pitching. Is what a lot of teams will be scrambling around to try to get. Or do you think a lot of teams are just going to stand pat where they're at? It's going to be a different kind of feel, because usually for a trade deadline, you kind of know where you're at if you're a playoff contender or if you're out or whatever. But 30 days in, everybody may be hanging around 500 or I don't know. So how do you think trade deadline is going to go this year?
I haven't really thought much about it. I think every team's going to be fairly different and unique. If you're a team that's rebuilding, which several teams in baseball have done, I mean, if you really think about baseball, especially say the last 3 or 4 years, to me it's been somewhat stale, just because there are so many teams that say we're going to trade our really high-priced, the guys who are maybe toward the end of their career, and we're going to go young. Even teams like the Red Sox now play some of that. So going into the season, in the last several years, you probably have a handful of teams that legitimately had a chance to be contending and have a chance to win a World Series. Really kind of going back to the last time the Royals played in the World Series, to me, is the last time that some of the smaller market clubs had a chance, because now everybody's kind of going the same direction. Let's rebuild. Let's stockpile in the draft and through the acquisitions for young players, and let them kind of gel and maybe mature all as a unit, all as a group, and then we'll see where we go. And I think one team to look out for, especially in our division, would be the White Sox, because they started that process a few years before the Royals did. And I think everyone in Chicago now feels like they are ready to be that team that can be a factor in the American League Central, and potentially a team that could be a contender to go to the World Series. So it's going to be a little different, but I'm just hopeful that it will be a good opportunity, because in a short season, with the trade deadline only a month after the season starts, you're going to find out who wants to be at the table when we put on chips in, kind of at the end of the September.
Yeah. Do you think that with the season starting later, do you think hitters or pitchers are going to have more of an advantage, kind of with this abbreviated camp and then kicking off the season here in about 9 days?
So generally, pitchers have an advantage early in the season, so I have to go with the pitchers, just because timing is such a critical factor. In talking about timing, I think one player that would be very interesting to watch for the Royals is Salvador Perez. Here he missed all of last season with the Tommy John surgery, geared up, ready to go this year, had a great spring training camp, and then suddenly, the day before the summer camp was going to open up, he tests positive for the coronavirus, and he's been out now for 10 or 12 days. So, timing-wise, it's important to have those repetitions, have those plate appearances in order to see the ball coming out of the stand live. And so I think Salvador Perez will be a pretty interesting model to see how that goes with regards to having a spring training camp. Usually, early in spring training camp, pitchers work on pretty much fastball changeup. They don't really work with off pitches. Then as camp goes, they build up in endurance. They start mixing in the sliders and the splitters and the curveballs. Probably a little different this year with regards to the approach.